I think of all the questions that I get asked, one of the most common is, what's wrong with my orchid? It's not looking very well, or it's not flowering. Well, you have to start down at basics if you're going to find out what's the matter, because we all bring this orchid home, or we get given it, and it looks perfect. And that's because it's spent its entire life living in absolutely perfect conditions. Where it grew on the nursery, the heat, the light, and the feeding will have been tailored exactly to get that orchid into peak condition, ready for it to go to the shops. Now, the minute it leaves the shop, unfortunately, the circumstances change. Now, that might be a lower temperature, it might be less humidity, or it might be that you forget to feed it. All of these will have a bearing on how the orchid performs. So, where do we start? Right, most of the moth orchids, like the ones I've got here, prefer a temperature of around 18 to 21 degrees centigrade. They like good light, but not direct sunlight, and they like a fair amount of humidity. So how do we provide that? Well, if you've got a kitchen or a bathroom where the air gets steamy at least once a day, that's fine. If you haven't, then you may need to mist the roots. And it's these aerial roots that you need to worry about, because these orchids naturally grow up in trees where the branch of the tree joins the trunk and leaf litter accumulates. Now that gives it a damp, moist place to put its roots down and to begin to grow and absorb the moisture that it needs from the air. It needs very few anchoring roots, but it's got a lot of these aerial roots to absorb the nutrients. So they're the ones we have to pay heed to. Now, don't cut them off. I have spoken to people who have chopped these off because they don't like the look of them, but that's very harmful to the plant. So leave those. And the roots down here in the pot need light. That's why these orchids always come in clear pots, because where they grow high up in the trees, they'd have light all around them. It would be filtered light because they're underneath the canopy of leaves, but nevertheless it will be bright. So it's important to keep these orchids in clear pots, and don't stand the clear pot inside another one that will block out the light. So, assuming that we've got lots of light around the roots, we need lots of air around the roots. Don't overpot an orchid. You can see that this one looks like it's forcing itself out of the pot, but look at the flowers on it. It's perfectly happy. When you repot an orchid, quite often you can simply tap off most of the old compost and then start again with fresh in the same pot. The only thing that you have to watch is that if you can see this one, we have a lot of this green algae accumulating. And it's quite natural, but it does block the light. So every now and again you need to tap the plant out of the pot and either put it into a clean pot or put it back into this one after you've given it a thorough wash. But the more this builds up and the more light is blocked, the more the growth will slow down. Now, the other thing that they can get are things like mealybugs, tiny little white insects that sit on the stem and look like tiny dabs of white wax. They are actually sucking the sap from the plant, and it's very important to get rid of them. They're also prone to greenfly, aphids, which like the young buds where the flowers aren't quite open, because the tissue is very soft for their mouth parts. They can suck the sap very easily. Again, if you spot them, it's very important to get rid of them. And finally, a really common question is people say to me, my orchid was blue or pink or orange, and now it's white. What's gone wrong? Well, absolutely nothing's gone wrong, because the fact is that when you bought it and it had blue flowers on it, as this one did, they'd been injected with a dye, a harmless food dye, into the stem. It goes up into the buds, and the buds open blue or red or pink or orange or whatever colour they've chosen. And if you trace the flower stem back down, you'll actually usually see where it was done. It looks fairly ugly, but it doesn't harm the flowers. It's just that it will only happen to that flower stem. And from then on, you'll have a perfectly healthy plant, but it'll have white flowers. They use white because the dye shows the most easily. So you have to just enjoy it as a white plant, I'm afraid. I hope that helps. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our channel and click the like button below. It helps us know you're out there. Thank you.